Hey y'all, welcome back for another one of my live shows. I'm Shanta Prince, and I help women coaches to build their personal brands, create high ticket offers, and get paying clients. So, somebody told me the other day, she said, when you said y'all, I knew you were from the South. And I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of true because actually, I was actually born in Chicago. And I grew up in a small little town about maybe like 40 minutes south of Chicago. But, like, my mom, my grandmother, a lot of my family they're from Mississippi, so I always tell people that I have, like, a little bit of city slick and then a little bit of country twang. So so I thought about that when I said, "Hey, y'all, welcome back to another one of my live shows." But anyway, so today last week, I know we talked about some mindset stuff last week. I wanted to come back and talk about some mindset stuff again because I believe that a lot of this is, what's keeping you back, and the reason why I know this is because I talk to you guys. I talk to you in the messages, and I'm doing calls with you and connecting with you on a regular basis. I actually have time every week to talk, just to talk to people, just to connect with you and see how you're doing. So some of you guys I talk to in the messages, some of you guys I've been on calls with you, and so I know, like, I know what's important for you right now and what you need right now. So I want to spend another week talking about some mindset things that are keeping you stuck. So mindset, some ideas that you have in your mind that are keeping your business from growing. So let me just get my notes and stuff together. I'm trying to move things around so that I can get my notes together. So I will tell you that one of the biggest things that keep women entrepreneurs stuck, well, entrepreneurs in general, is how we think. And a lot of times we feel like, oh, I need another course, I need a certification. And it's not really that. It's really, you just need to work through some mindset things. And that's like really what's keeping you stuck because many times it's not ability that's holding you back. It's not that you're incapable of doing what it is you do. You already know that you're very capable of doing what it is you do. You're amazing at it, and you already know that. So it's not about ability. It's not about whether or not you can actually accomplish this thing. The big issue is whether you think you can or not. So that's what the big problem normally is, and that starts with mindset. I say this all the time: belief changes everything. What you believe about yourself, what you believe about what you can accomplish, changes everything. How many times have you cheered someone on? I know this very well. How many times have you cheered someone on and they went on to accomplish something, but then you're struggling to accomplish that thing yourself, right? Like that's like the story of my life. I was just talking about this a few days ago about how it's easy to believe for other people, but then when it comes to yourself, it's like, okay, this is a real struggle, and that goes back to mindset, right? And so when you work on things that you need to change in your mindset, then you will see growth in your life and in your business. The Bible talks about how we're transformed by renewing our minds. The way that we change as human beings is by having our minds renewed, right? It's not about, yeah, like we know the things that change our lives, like, working out every day, drinking enough water, and doing the things that we need to do to take care of our health. But even those changes start with mindset. And so one of them is, for example, getting things done even when you don't feel like it, drinking water when you don't feel like it, working out when you don't feel like it, talking to people for your business when you don't feel when you don't feel like it. And sometimes that's just the way that it is. But so let me tell you guys this little story about when I was in the Navy, and this story is really important to what we're talking about today. So when I first joined the Navy, I was like, joining this new organization. I was, fresh out of high school, and I joined this huge Navy, and I met all of these new people, and my lifestyle totally changed. Even though some of the things that I did in the Navy I was already doing, like I ran track, and I was a drum major when I was in band. So when I got to boot camp, I already knew how to march. And I still don't understand why people struggle to march because I'm like, it's just walking, right? But like a lot of the things that I had to do when I joined the Navy, when I went to boot camp, I was already able to do. So I kind of had like a head start. But then when I got into the Navy, like it was a huge change of culture. And so one of the things was when I was in boot camp, for those of you who are my military vets or you have a loved one in the military, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So in boot camp, everything was about rank, like your position. And so I remember leading my division during we were still, it was like the second or third week of boot camp, and I was leading my division, and like I was making all the calls, and I didn't understand the rank structure yet. So I didn't understand the difference between who I need to salute and who not to salute. And so I remember seeing someone, and I'm like, do I need to salute this person? Do I not need to salute this person? And so I kept getting in trouble because I didn't understand the rank yet. And so, fast forward, I get to my first ship, and I was stationed in Japan on my first ship, and like I said, fresh out of boot camp, I'm at my new ship, and I worked. I did a lot of different things to start out with, but one of my jobs was we had this little station that we worked at, and we called it broadcast. And broadcast was basically some huge gray old printers that would print out messages. And anytime there was a message that was really important, that like this message needs to get to the person that it needs to get to right away, we call that a flash message. So what would happen was we'd be standing or sitting by these printers all day, and you could hear the messages printing off. And when it was a flash message, meaning this message is super important, the pattern of the printer would change, and that's how we would know like the speed of how this printer is printing off, and the pattern would change. And so that's how we knew, okay, this is a really important message. And so one of the things that I had to do as a person who's fresh out of boot camp was when we would get really important messages, weather messages that were like emergency messages, meaning there's a big storm coming. This is just an example. There's a big storm coming, and you guys are headed right into it. You're going to have to change the direction of the ship to avoid the storm, or something along those lines. So my job was to get that message and print it out and put it in a folder and take it up to what we call the bridge. The bridge is where the people who drive the ship, that's where they drive the ship, in the bridge. And so you have one person who's the helmsman, and their job is to steer, to basically drive the ship. And then you have lots of other people who are there to support the entire ship getting to the destination. And there are people up there of like lower rank, like myself at the time, and then you have people who are like a very high rank. But so my job was to print this message out and get this message up to the bridge because somebody important needs to see this message. So you can imagine that as a new person, how intimidating that could be to have to take this message up to someone who's way higher ranking than myself. And I just told you about the experience that I had in boot camp, right, with the whole rank thing. But of course, by then I could tell the difference. But I still had this like stigma in my mind at the time. And so imagine like me having to like take this message up to the bridge and give it to the person who needs to see this message. Um, so what it really boiled down to at that time is if there's a storm coming and the people who are responsible for getting this ship where it needs to be, they need this message. They need to see my message. And of course, there are other ways that they could have gotten a message, but the idea was reinforcing the delivery of that message to ensure that's how important it was to ensure that this message is getting delivered. So at those moments, I had to really step outside of myself, right? So my first few times of taking the message to the bridge, I really had to step outside of myself and say, okay, I gotta like not think about like who I am and like how low ranking I am. That's how most of us start, right? You don't start off as with a commission or as an officer, then we all pretty much start off at the same level. And so taking the message up to the bridge caused me to have to get outside of myself because I'm like, listen, I got to get this message delivered. This is important. There's a storm coming or there's something happening with the weather that we gotta get this information out. And so I just told that story because I feel like so many of us are like that right now. We have a message, and the people who we're called to, they're in a storm or a storm is coming. And we've got the information about the storm that's coming, right? So you have something that you talk about or something that you offer that can help people through the storm. And the problem is there's so much stuff that's going on in your mindset that is keeping you from getting that message out. And that's why I said, like, I really had to get out of myself. Get outside of myself. I had to get over myself to be able to do my job. And that's like what many of us are experiencing right now. Like, you really have to learn how to step outside of yourself to serve the people that you're called to serve. So some of the things that keep you back from really moving forward, number one is not, I'm not talking about everybody. Now, if I'm talking about you, you're gonna know that I'm talking about you, right? But I'm not talking about anybody intentionally. But if the shoe fits, wear it is what I'm trying to say. So if you feel like, oh my goodness, I need to work on this, right? We all have growth that we have to do. We all have some level of growth that's required, right? Because your business grows as you grow, right? And so one of the mindsets that keep your business from growing is not wanting to be seen. And for that could be for different reasons for different people, but not wanting to be seen or not wanting to be visible, that can keep your business from growing. And the reason why is because you need visibility so that more people can see your brand and see your business so that you can get more clients and then get more revenue. And if you don't want to be seen, then that's something that you need to check on the inside of yourself. It's not something that, people can't force you out and make you be visible. But I will tell you this, those who are visible are succeeding a lot faster than those who are not. And what I mean by visible is just like, for example, what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you right now. I'm visible. I'm right in front of your eyes and I'm talking to you right now. You'd be surprised at how many people I meet who want to grow a coaching business and they do not want to be seen. That I had a person who was a potential client and she asked me a question. She said, "Well, I don't like being on camera." She was like, "Well, what would you suggest for me as a coach? And I don't really like being on camera." And I basically told her in a very nice way that you're just gonna have to get over it. And I think that she wanted me to tell her something else. I think she wanted me to tell her that, oh, you don't need to do video or you don't need to do this. And I'm like, I honestly can't tell you that because we all have to be on video in some way or some shape or some form, right? Because imagine, people wanting to work with you and they never see your face. In our space, it's a little bit different. Like if I sell a product, like if I like with my other business, I sell a barbecue rub. Like I could literally hide behind a logo if I wanted to. Like I could hide behind a logo and hide behind my product if I wanted to. But when you're a coach or a mentor or a consultant, you are the product. So how can you hide when you are the product, right? When I sell my rub, I show pictures of my rub. I show dishes with my rub. When you guys buy my rub, you post your pictures, and thank you guys for that, by the way. You post your pictures of what you cook with the rub, and then guess what? People start buying off of your posts. So the product is on showcase. The product is being showcased so that it can sell. When you're a coach or mentor or a consultant, you are the product. So you gotta be showcased so that you can sell your products and your services. And so that is just a necessary part of being in business. And I would encourage you to honestly, I'm just being real with you guys today. I would encourage you to, if you do not like being on camera that much to where you won't do it to grow your business, you should probably look at doing something else. And I'm saying, and usually I'm the person who's always like, well, you can not today because that's something that is important for your business, right? So if you're like, I don't want to, I'm being on camera is an absolute no for me. You probably should find some other kind of business because this at this time, like if this was many years ago, you could probably get away with it. But during this time, you got to show up for your audience. So you have to be on camera in some type of way. You have to be visible in some kind of way. And when I say on camera, I would also say that Clubhouse works very well too. And on Clubhouse, you're not visibly on camera, but people can hear your voice, right? So audio is very powerful as well. I have a client who she works audio very well. She does Clubhouse, and then she closes sales and direct messages, but she does Clubhouse very consistently, and that's how she closes her sales. So you've got to be visible so that you can grow your business. And if you don't want to be seen, then that's gonna get in the way of you being able to grow your business. Because you are the person, people are paying you to help them get results. And if they can't see you, they can't connect with you, they don't get to know you, they don't understand what you do and how you can help them, they haven't seen your expertise in action. It's very hard to get people to pay you when they can't see you. Right? How many of us, I mean, I know that the housing market is a little bit different now. People have been buying houses without seeing them. But in the past, normally, like it's very rare that you will buy a house without seeing it in person, right? We want to make sure that it's a good investment. And like your people, they want to see you so they can make sure it's a good investment. Now, there's a lot of different things you can do to work around certain things. For example, if you're like, okay, like I really hate being on camera, but I can find different ways to connect with my audience where I don't have to be on camera as much. That could be done. Hey, Elder Kim, that could be done as easily as you doing what we talked about, like batching your content. Let's say you take a Saturday, and you record your videos for the whole month. It doesn't even have to be a lot. It could be like you could do 3 5 to 10 minute videos, 3 or 4 5 to 10 minute videos, and then post them, every Tuesday or something along those lines. To the point where you're like, okay, I gotta get around this. But if you really want to be successful in the coaching or mentorship or consulting space, then you're gonna have to connect with your people in some way. Now, I would say in some instances, when you're working directly with people, you got to show up. But there's some, like for example, I know some people who are consultants and they work directly with businesses, consulting with them on different things. There may be a few exceptions now, but I will tell you, when I say a few exceptions, I mean a few. For most of us, we got to show up. We got to be on camera. We got to connect with people, because when we're called to serve people, you can't hide from the people that you call to serve, right? Just think about that. Like if you have a fear of being seen, or you just like, I don't want to be seen, that's something that you really got to work on if you want to be successful in this business. So that's one belief that holds people back. They don't want to be seen, they don't want to show their faces. Okay. um Secondly, the other mindset that holds people back from really growing a successful business is wanting everything to be perfect. Wanting everything to be perfect. What happens with that is, oh, my earring just lost my earring. What happens with that, when you want everything to be perfect, it holds you back from creating content and creating your offers and services and actually putting it out there so that people can actually use it. And I will be the first to tell you, like, I understand it because I am a recovering perfectionist myself. Like when I look back on all the things that I held on to because they weren't perfect, like I have to forgive myself for those things. Like I literally have to say I forgive myself for not putting that information out there, because that really could have helped somebody, right? And this is what I'm talking about. It goes back to the story that I just told you a little while ago about my time in the Navy. Is I really had to get out of myself. I had to get over myself, right? And that's what you really got to do when it comes to serving people, is you got to get over yourself and help the people that you called to help. So if you're holding back on things and you're sitting on things because it's not perfect, that's another problem. That's problematic for your business. Now, I talked about this before, how doing things in excellence is different from doing things as like, trying to make things perfect. I always say that excellence is doing the best you can with what you have right now. The absolute best you can do with what you have right now. Remember the story when I talked about Moses, how when Moses was like, when God was calling Moses and he was asking him to do these things, and Moses was like, I can't do this. How is this going to happen? How am I going to accomplish this? And God asked Moses, he said, what's in your hand? And Moses had a staff in his hand. And that's what God used to do great things. And so my question to you is, what's already in your hand? What do you have in your hand? And use that to the best of your ability. Perfection is waiting until you have something that you don't have before you move forward. So for example, if you're like, well, I don't have a website yet, so I don't want to, launch my program because I don't have a website yet. Do you know how many people are making a lot of money without a website? Do you know how many people are making a lot of money without a sales page? There's a lot of things that you might think you need that you absolutely don't need. I'm gonna get to that in the next point. Thank you. I'm gonna get to that in the next point. But people can get help off of the work that you do when you're doing the best that you can. And you don't need to know everything, right? For those of you who follow me already, you've heard me say this before. You don't need to know everything to start getting paid for your knowledge. You just need to know more than the people who are paying you. That's it. You just need to know more than the people who are paying you. If you think I need to have all of my stuff together, I need to have, listen, can I tell y'all a secret? There are people with doctorate degrees, master's degrees, 10 certifications, and they're still not making any money. Still not making any money, right? And I'm just telling you this because I want you to understand that you don't need all of that stuff to be able to help people. You don't need 20,000 degrees to help somebody get to the next step. A lot of times, your ideal clients are you a few steps ago, and that's okay. If you got one step, people will pay you to learn your one step. And then when you learn the next step, then you add that as a service. And then you continuously grow. None of us start out as gurus. Nobody starts a business knowing everything. Nobody starts a business as a guru. Even still, even the gurus don't know everything, right? Because guess what they do? They call other gurus and say, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? And then they hire people to do the things for them. And so if you're looking at someone who has a team of 30 people and they have a whole team running their business and you're trying to compare yourself to them, that's going to keep you stuck too. Because you feel like, oh, I gotta do everything that they're doing, and you absolutely don't. Which leads me to my next point, number 3. The third mindset that keeps you back, keeps your business from growing, is overcomplicating things. Overthinking and overcomplicated, y'all. Can I just tell y'all everything that I'm talking about? Like I've been there and done that. That's why I know what I'm talking about. And y'all had told me these things too. So that's why I know you need this information. You need to understand that you don't have to overcomplicate things. And the best way to make money is to keep things simple. That is the best way to start making money or start making more money than you have made, is to keep things simple. If you're thinking, like I was just messaging someone a few days ago and she wanted to launch her workshop. And I'm like, look, you don't need all this fancy stuff. You can do a workshop and you could use what's already available to you for free. You could create a Facebook group. Anyone who pays for your workshop, add them to the Facebook group. Go live in the Facebook group, teach your content, and that's it. You don't need a fancy funnel or any type of fancy webinar equipment. It's a very simple path. And sometimes we put more things on ourselves than what's actually necessary. And so if you want to get your knowledge out, if you want to help people, think about the simplest way that you can do that. When my clients start going in left field, I'm like, no, you don't you don't need all that. Right. That's what they're paying me for, right? I love my clients. I have I have the best clients. Like I can really brag on my clients. I have the best clients. And I'm so thankful that my clients are my clients. And because of that, when they're getting too far off, I'm like, no, you don't need to do all that. Or when they say things like, well, I can't do, I'm like, yes, you can. Like you could do this in a couple of minutes, And so all of that is because I love my clients and I want them to win. Like I really go hard for my clients. I want my clients to win. I want them to be successful. And so when they start overcomplicating things, my job, I bring them back down to earth and say, listen, You don't need all that just yet, right? You can do those things later, but right now let's focus on getting some money, getting you some income, getting you some money, right? Because being that we're in business, we're supposed to make money, right? We got to get paid, and you're the best. Thank you, thank you so much. We got to get this money in the door, right? Y'all, like, can I just tell y'all another little secret? Like, I don't like it when now I do understand. No, don't get me wrong, you guys. I'm not saying that I'm a worshiper of mammon. Y'all know what mammon is. But it bothers me a little bit when people who are in business say, oh, it's not about the money. And it's like, yes, it is. It is about the money. But I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in the sense of if you're in business, if you are a believer in business, God expects you to make money. It's just like if you have a job and you go to work and someone's paying you to do a job, they expect you to be productive, right? If you have a business, then you are supposed to be using all of the gifts and the wisdom that God has given you to make that business grow. Think about the parable of the talents. When each servant was given a certain amount of talents, right? What did they call what did they call the one who didn't make any who didn't his talents didn't increase? I think one was given 10, one was given 5, and one was given 1 talent. The one with 10 increased his, the one with 5 increased his, and the one with 1 took his and buried his talent. He was called wicked. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, when you look at that, it's like, oh, that's kind of harsh, right? Like he didn't take what he had and he didn't grow what he had. He was given something and he did not increase it. We're all given something. And when you're in business, you're expected to increase, right? Using the wisdom, using the gifts that God has given us to increase, to build upon, to be fruitful, to multiply. And those are all things that we're able to do. I don't believe that God will say do something that we're incapable of doing. If God says be fruitful and multiply, then we have the ability to do that. So if you're thinking about like, okay, how can I get to the next step? This is what you number one, you got to get over your fear of being seen. Because remember when I talked about the message, how your people, you got the message that you got to deliver to your people right now. You are the voice that your people are waiting for. You're the one with the message or the answer that's going to get people through the storm right now. And people are dealing with a lot of different things right now. But guess what? They're still buying. People are still buying. You guys, I don't know a time when people have just not bought anything at all. Like just stop buying anything, period. The thing is, when difficult times come, it's not that people stop buying, right? Their reason for buying changes, and sometimes what they're buying changes. But people are always buying. And you as a marketer, you got to be able to tap into that. So for example, y'all remember when COVID first started, people went to the store and they bought up all of the toilet tissue and they cleaned the shelves off and like it was just chaotic. And there were a lot of things that were very difficult to find. Like we couldn't find any Lysol wipes, you couldn't find hand sanitizer, you couldn't find toilet tissue. Like things were just hectic. I happened to be stocked up at that time, so I had some things because I saw it coming. And one morning I woke up and I told my husband, I said, there's going to be a shortage of certain things. And I was like, I'm going to start stocking up on things. And that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. But did people stop buying during the pandemic? No, they did not, right? They just changed what they were buying and their reasons for buying changed. Right. So as soon as someone says shortage, like it gives panic, right? It gives all panic vibes and people panic and then they go buy up everything, right? Their reason for buying now is different. Now, normally when they go shopping, they may have just been buying some groceries just to cook dinner for the week. But then when they hear shortage, now they're buying because they're afraid they're going to run out. Their reason for buying changed, but they didn't stop buying. That's what's happening right now. Y'all have to understand why people are buying right now. And it's not that they're not, it's just when you understand why. Someone was just asking about this the other day. How she was saying, how do I tap into like my ideal clients right now? Like, how do I speak to them right now? And this is one of the things that I teach on is how to speak your ideal client's language. You have to understand, what do people want right now? I know for sure that what one thing that my ideal clients want is they want financial freedom. And they understand that, things we've seen over these past few years that nothing is promised to us. Tomorrow is not promised to us, and nothing is promised to us. And so there's always a constant preparation mode. Right. It's about priorities. Exactly. There's always a preparation mode that comes with doing what it is that you do. So you can go about and live your life every single day, but then there's a small part of your day that has to be dedicated to, okay, let me make sure I'm getting things prepared and things lined up. Okay. So my clients, they understand this because this is what I teach. We talk about getting prepared. We talk about the future and how to operate right now from a place of peace and not from a place of fear. So we're operating out of peace and abundance, not fear. Because when you do things out of fear, it comes off differently. When you're doing things out of lack, your ideal clients can pick up on that, right? We don't do thirsty, right? Because we're not thirsty over here, right? So we don't want to come off in as desperate, because that's just not a good feel. So when if your ideal clients can sense that you're desperate, let's say you're selling something, you're like, oh my goodness, I have to pay this bill. And if I don't pay this bill, all of these things are going to happen. Then you start showing up differently, right? But if you show up like, okay, I got to pay this bill and I know that it's coming, then you can really focus on serving your clients in a way that you feel great about and in a way that they feel great about. Yes, exactly. So the thing is you want to think about, number one, how you can be more visible. I have two clients right now who I'm getting ready to work with them on their visibility, leveling up their visibility. How can you be seen more? Because a lot of times when you struggle in business, is not because your product isn't good. It's just that enough people haven't seen you yet. You'll sell more when more people have eyes on your product and your services and your brand. And so there's a very, specific strategy for getting more eyes on your brand. So number one, you got to get out of your fear of wanting to be seen. Number two, you got to let go of wanting everything to be perfect. When I tell y'all I'm a recovering perfectionist, y'all, like, let me tell y'all, when I had my first 25K month in business, I had started another Facebook group. I think I've had, like, I don't know, like maybe 4 or 5 different Facebook groups. And what happened was I wanted to do a new Facebook group because I'm like, this is how I want to connect with my audience. I want to connect with my audience through a Facebook group. I love Facebook. Facebook is my jam. It's my favorite social media platform. And so when I first started my new group, I didn't even have a cover on my thing before I started inviting people. Before I even put a Facebook cover up, I was inviting people into my group. But I started with the lowest hanging fruit, which is like my network, people who I already know. So I just put a quick post up in the group and I say, hey guys, my group is not done yet, but I wanted to invite you in anyway. And most of them, they're not going to care anyway, because they already know me. The biggest, that was the biggest, that was the biggest imperfect action that I've ever taken. Normally, I would never do that. You would never come to anything of mine and it not be all together. Like, my stuff has got to be together, my stuff. But then when I started to learn, like, I really had to like humble myself. Like, business will humble you. I had to really humble myself and understand that taking big and perfect action is the way to success. Do it big, do it boldly, and do it imperfectly. None of us are able to do this thing perfectly. And if you're waiting for perfection, it's going to keep you stuck for a long, long, long time. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know, right? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Don't let perfection keep you stuck. As long as you're showing up for your audience, that's what you focus on. You can do things as you go. You know how they say entrepreneurs, they jump and then they build a plane on the way down. That's like really the approach that you have to have, right? There are some things that you're going to have a little more time to put together and a little bit more effort to put together. But there are other times when you got to take big imperfect action. And that's most of the time, okay? And then thirdly, you want to make sure you're not overcomplicating things. Keep things simple. Keep things as simple as you possibly can. I feel like my other earring's about to fall out. This one is on pretty tight. No, it's not. So make sure you're not overcomplicating things. Think about one of my clients just said this yesterday. We were talking about this yesterday, and she was like, "You know how they say kiss, right? Keep it simple, right? So you want to make sure when you're doing something, I want you to ask yourself this question. Ask yourself, what's the simplest way I can do this? Right? Honestly, I feel like most of us, we go for like the most complicated way. I don't know why we're like this, y'all. Like, why are we like this? We go for the most complicated way of doing things. And it's like, oh, you don't even need all of that. But now that I have years of experiences, lots of mistakes, lots of successes, I can sense immediately when my clients are going there. And I'm like, no, I'm pulling them back down. Like, you don't need all that. The way to success is clear, right? But what we do is we put all these barriers up. Right? It's like, you know how they say that the shortest distance to your destination is a straight line, right? But we know that business is not like that. You know, business is up, down, all around, and we deal with a lot of things. But what I'm saying is business is hard enough. Don't add extra burdens on yourself by overcomplicating stuff. When you see people with these fancy sales pages and with these amazing websites and all of this stuff, like they're probably a lot further along than you are, and they probably didn't start out with all of those things. But what you really have to do is you got to look down, look where you are. You got to put your blinders on and look down the path that according to where you are. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about that. It talks about fixing your gaze straight ahead. That means put your focus straight ahead. And that's what you really got to do with growing your business. You got to put your head down and work. You can't worry about what this person is doing. You can't worry about what this person is doing. You got to worry about where you are and what you're doing right now. And if there's someone that you're looking at and you can't stop comparing yourself to that person, then you may have to unfollow. You may have to change some things up on your settings so that you can focus. And I'm just being real, right? It's easy to say, well, just don't let that distract you. No, I'm going to tell you, go ahead and unfollow or do what you need to do so you can get focused. And that is just real talk because we're human. And sometimes, we have difficulties with certain things. All of us have different things that we struggle with. And so if you struggle with comparing yourself to other people and it keeps you from moving forward, then do what you got to do to protect your peace and keep your focus. Okay. So just to do a quick recap, we talked about getting over the fear of wanting to be seen, getting over perfectionism, wanting everything to be perfect, and not overcomplicating things. And when I tell y'all, like, I'm literally talking about myself today. Like I'm all in my own business. Like I'm talking about myself. Every last one of these things, I've been stuck for years and years and years in each one of these. Probably like each one of these, I may be able to say about maybe like 3 years for each one. I'm not even joking. I'm not over exaggerating this. Each one of these will keep you stuck for a very long time if you don't get over them. If you don't let go of these things. And if you don't show up the way that God is calling you to show up right now, you're going to be stuck. And that's what we don't want, right? We don't want stuck. We want you to be able to connect with your people. We want you to be able to get your message out. We want you to be able to grow. And with that, and it takes time to work through each one, right? So let's start with one and say, okay, look, and a lot of these things can be all like tied together. Your fear of not wanting to be seen can be rooted in wanting everything to be perfect. Wanting everything to be perfect could be you overcomplicating things. So they could all actually be rooted in one thing, all tied together. But at the end of the day, business is about you being bold enough to show up and step out and make mistakes. You probably have heard this thing before. Feel your way to success. Feel your way to success. Y'all, when I tell you it's a true statement, you really do you're there's no way to avoid making mistakes in business. So the trick is, look, I already know I'm gonna make mistakes. Let me just go ahead and make my mistakes so I can grow, right? That's some people's approach to business. Like I know everything is not gonna be perfect. I know I'm gonna make mistakes. So let me just make my mistakes. Yes, people are going to see you stumble. They're going to see you do things that don't work out the way that you planned them to work out, but they're also going to see you come up. They're going to see you down in the valley, but they're going to see you when you're up on the top of that mountain too. And that's the thing to keep in mind. That's why I'm saying, like, you have to really put your head down and work and not worry about what other people are going to think, because at the end of the day, y'all, like, it's about lives. It's about lives, and we're called to change lives. And for those of us, when we understand when you're called to the mountain of business, the beautiful thing is that we can change lives while being successful in business. You get paid to change people's lives. Yeah. Like, how amazing is that? That you get paid to change people's lives. One of my clients recently did an awesome workshop, and like I was literally in tears for her because I'm like, oh my goodness, like she went from thinking about it and dreaming about it to actually doing it. And the stuff that she teaches y'all, like she is the bomb. Like she's a bad chick. And she literally went from thinking about it to actually very closely impacting people's lives. All because she was stepping out of all of these things, y'all. She had to come out of all she had to come out of all of this stuff, right? She had to shed all of this stuff. She had to come out of the fear of wanting to be seen. She probably talked to more people during that time than she's talked to in a very long time. She talked to a lot of people, sent a lot of messages. She had to come out of perfectionism, wanting everything to be perfect, and not overcomplicate stuff in order to execute this thing, in order to get it done. And the end result was money in her bank account, right? And she probably needed a couple of naps after that, like how I do. Like when I launch, like I need to rest after that because I'm like exhausted. It is exhausting. But thank God that He pours back into us. He fills our cup back up so that we can continue to change lives, so that we can continue to serve people. So I want you to think about how the things that are in your mindset can be keeping you back, and how you can overcome those things so that you can impact the people you're called to impact. Right? Our businesses are keys. I said this recently. Your business is not a burden; it's a key. And there's a life that you dream about, and your business is the vehicle to help you drive on into that life that you're dreaming about. If you're dreaming about financial freedom, if you're dreaming about being able to make money right from your home, like my kids are out of school right now, they're in the next room watching movies. And sometimes when my husband is at home, he's in another room. Sometimes he's in the same room. And I'm like, God, thank you that I can make money without leaving my house. Like I can make money without leaving my home and being with my kids and being with my husband, and all I have to do is do what I need to do, and then I'm like in a few steps I'm reunited with my family again. This is the life that I dreamed about. What being available for my family. When something happens at my kids' school, I can just stop what I'm doing and go and tend to them or go and take care of their needs. This is what I wanted as a mom. I wanted to be available for my children, right? I don't want to be counties away or like cities away from my children. I don't want to have to commute every single day. I want to be available when my kids call. That's just what I want. And my business is the means for me being able to do that. So when you put your dream life in perspective and you see your business as the vehicle to get you there, then you start to show up differently because you're like, I really want financial freedom. I really want to, I had a client she was paying her son's way through college. I have another client who wants to retire soon. I have a former client who was also she's working toward retirement. And her whole reason for building her business is so that she can retire and do what she loves to do. She can retire from her job and just coach people because that's what she likes to do. She enjoys it. I'm telling you, there's a way to get paid to do what you and to do exactly what you enjoy, but you got to step out and you got to be bold, right? You got to be bold for what you want. Okay. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. And thank you for those of you who have been showing up every week and hanging out. If you're not in the Facebook group, come on over and join me inside of the Facebook group. It's Purpose Driven Coaches and Mentors over on Facebook. If you're watching me on LinkedIn, you can send me a message if you have any questions about anything that I talked about. If you want to hear about any other topics that I teach on, around branding, brand messaging. That's one of my favorite topics to speak on. Brand messaging, um, content marketing, email marketing, social media marketing, creating offers. I teach on a whole bunch of different things. So if there's something that you're curious about, just shoot me a quick message and say, hey, can you talk about this? Because that helps me to make sure I'm giving you topics that you actually want to learn. So I'll be back here next Thursday at the same time on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And but if you're in my group, then I'll see you on a regular basis. And y'all have a wonderful week. Think about the things that we talked about today. Build your business. Be big, do it bold, and do it imperfectly. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a great one.